Before we begin, let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd. Very, very big.
The United States woke up on Thursday morning to a nation reeling in grief and disbelief. Charlie Kirk, one of the most recognized voices of modern conservatism and the co-founder of Turning Point USA, had been killed while speaking at Utah Valley University. News of his death traveled quickly, dominating headlines, pushing global events aside, and leaving Americans across the political spectrum grappling with the shocking loss. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. Donald Trump, the former and once again sitting president who owes part of his political success to Kirk's tireless activism, made his first public remarks to CNBC's Joe Kernen. The tone of Trump's voice, Kernen said, was heavy with sadness. Trump described himself as devastated, and his words revealed a rare moment of vulnerability for a man who has often cultivated the image of resilience under fire. But Trump's message, while full of sorrow, was also layered with a sense of purpose. He reportedly told Kernen, "The country will heal." To many listening, those words were more than a passing remark. They sounded like an attempt to speak directly to a wounded nation, to assure Americans that even in the face of political violence and devastating loss, unity was possible. Kernen added further context, recalling how Trump reflected on Kirk's role in his 2024 electoral victory. According to Trump, Kirk was not just an ally but a crucial strategist who had unlocked the hearts and minds of America's youth. He told Kernen that Kirk was instrumental in energizing young conservatives, and even suggested that Kirk had the talent, charisma, and vision to one day rise to the presidency himself. That speculation now carries a bitter finality. A young life filled with political ambition and influence has been cut short, leaving behind not just mourning supporters but also a haunting question: what might Charlie Kirk have achieved had he lived? On Wednesday, the auditorium at Utah Valley University was brimming with anticipation. Students, faculty members, and political enthusiasts had gathered to hear Kirk, who had become known for his fiery speeches and unapologetic defense of conservative principles. Many in attendance saw him as not just a political figure but a cultural icon who had given young conservatives a voice at a time when they felt marginalized on college campuses. But the event took a catastrophic turn when gunfire shattered the atmosphere. Panic erupted as attendees ducked for cover. Witnesses described the chaos as surreal. A few seconds of silence, then screaming, people rushing toward exits, and others trying to shield themselves or loved ones. Kirk, who had been speaking on stage, collapsed as the bullets found their target. Emergency responders rushed him to a local hospital, but despite their efforts, he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. News of his passing spread almost instantly, with live video from attendees circulating across social media platforms within minutes. Law enforcement officials quickly secured the area, detaining 2 individuals who were near the scene. However, within hours, investigators concluded that neither had any involvement in the crime and released them. Still, the urgency of the manhunt did not diminish. At a press conference the following day, Utah Public Safety Commissioner Bo Mason revealed that authorities had recovered the rifle used in the killing, along with both a footprint and palm print believed to belong to the shooter. Mason added that surveillance cameras had provided good video footage of the suspect, whom investigators described as appearing to be of college age. Though the manhunt continues, the atmosphere in Orem has shifted into one of mourning and fear. For students, faculty, and the community at large, the shooting was not just a crime scene but a deeply personal violation of a space meant for education and debate. Even as investigators scrambled for answers, Donald Trump moved quickly to honor Kirk's legacy. On Wednesday evening, he issued a proclamation ordering that American flags across the country be flown at half-staff until sunset on Sunday. It was a gesture meant to signify national mourning, a rare tribute reserved for those whose deaths mark a moment of national significance. Later that night, Trump posted a statement on Truth Social, pouring out his grief in uncharacteristically tender language. "No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie," he wrote. "He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now, he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you." The tribute quickly went viral, amassing hundreds of thousands of shares and comments. For Trump's supporters, it underscored the depth of the relationship between the two men. For critics, it raised complicated questions about the legacy of political rhetoric in America and its potential connection to violence. But across divides, there was a shared recognition of the scale of the loss. To understand the magnitude of Kirk's death, it is necessary to retrace his rise to prominence. Born in 1993 in Arlington Heights, Illinois, Charlie Kirk grew up in a middle-class family. From a young age, he displayed an entrepreneurial spirit and a keen interest in politics. By the time he was a teenager, he was already writing op-eds and speaking out about what he saw as the liberal dominance of American culture and education. In 2012, at the age of 18, Kirk co-founded Turning Point USA, an organization aimed at mobilizing young conservatives on college campuses. What began as a small project quickly snowballed into a nationwide movement. By focusing on issues like free speech, limited government, and capitalism, Turning Point USA tapped into a growing sense of alienation felt by many conservative students. Under Kirk's leadership, the organization expanded rapidly, hosting events at universities, training young activists, and creating an entire media ecosystem of podcasts, conferences, and online campaigns. Kirk himself became a familiar presence on cable news, often sparring with liberal commentators and presenting himself as a champion of America's youth. By his late 20s, Kirk was not just a commentator but a kingmaker in Republican politics. He forged strong alliances with influential figures, none more important than Donald Trump. Kirk's ability to rally young voters was instrumental in bolstering Trump's 2016 and 2020 campaigns, and his presence loomed even larger in 2024, when Trump made his return to the White House. Kirk's assassination is more than a personal tragedy for his family, friends, and supporters, it is also a national crisis that revives painful questions about political violence in the United States. In recent years, the country has seen a troubling rise in politically motivated attacks, from the shooting of Republican Congressman Steve Scalise in 2017 to the January 6 Capitol riot and the attempted kidnapping of Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Each event has left scars, but Kirk's killing feels different, an assassination in broad daylight, at a university, targeting a young leader at the height of his influence. The fact that Kirk was struck down while speaking to college students underscores the vulnerability of public figures who regularly engage with large audiences. Universities, often seen as spaces of debate and learning, are now thrust into a grim spotlight as potential targets for politically charged violence. Charlie Kirk's journey was one of both admiration and controversy. To some, he was a fearless defender of conservatism, unafraid to challenge institutions that he believed had been captured by leftist ideology. To others, he was a divisive figure, accused of stoking culture wars and inflaming divisions on campuses already fraught with tension. But regardless of where one stood politically, there was no denying his influence. Born in the suburbs of Illinois, Kirk's childhood was not extraordinary in material terms. His parents were not political insiders, and his family lived a life typical of middle-class America. What set him apart was his early recognition of politics as a battlefield worth entering, even at a time when most of his peers were focused on sports, music, or social life. Kirk often told the story of how, as a teenager, he felt alienated in classrooms where progressive ideology dominated discussions. That sense of isolation, he claimed, drove him to fight for a place for conservative voices in academia. His speeches would frequently circle back to the theme of being a minority of thought on campus, an experience he believed millions of young Americans shared. By his early 20s, Kirk had already established himself as a fixture on conservative talk shows. He wrote prolifically, launched a widely followed podcast, and built Turning Point USA into a sprawling network that touched nearly every major university in America. What set him apart was not just his organizational skills but his ability to connect with young audiences, to make politics feel urgent, personal, and worth fighting for. His critics often accused him of oversimplifying issues or using confrontational tactics. But his supporters saw in him a clarity that cut through the noise of establishment politics. At Turning Point's national conferences, Kirk was greeted like a rock star, with thousands of students chanting his name, waving American flags, and lining up for photos. In those moments, the young activist was more than just a political strategist. He was a cultural force. Donald Trump's relationship with Charlie Kirk was not merely transactional. While Trump benefited enormously from Turning Point USA's reach among younger voters, he also found in Kirk a personal ally who mirrored his own combative style. Trump often praised Kirk's ability to speak the language of the youth, something he admitted he himself could not always do. Behind closed doors, according to aides, Trump frequently consulted Kirk on messaging strategies, especially when it came to issues like free speech, patriotism, and college outreach. The 2024 presidential election became a moment of culmination for that alliance. After Trump's political comeback, analysts credited Kirk with